Hello, Craig. Hello, GameBot. Um, we
Thank you for
are.
acknowledging that the game bot.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. GameBot and I have a special relationship. I think they're a little shy, just doing sound effects every now and again. They don't talk. Uh, they just hum. Um, Last time on Well Dressed Bones, our characters had been dealing with the last few things over the time skip. Um, Fish getting a potential boon from Lady Inari. Sinner and May being a little bit on the outs, maybe, and May being suspicious of Sinner's intentions, and Cal trying to handle some last minute business with setting the temple to rights before you all traveled to the, in this time period, pretty lovely, if you're not a local, Iran, or Persia, as May would probably refer to it. Um, and traveling into this lovely country, Cal was immediately, unfortunately, had to change clothes because she went full burqa in a time when it was illegal as a sign of too much Muslim influence, and traveled over the mountains into ancient land that May remembers studying just off the Caspian Sea, a land of ancient ruins, both of the ancients and also of uh, empires long gone, the Wall of Alexander the Great. A place very steeped in history. And after getting a ride from some necromancers in the local town of Gorgon, um, uh, being brought to this odd little village in the mountains, seemingly just a little town that is entirely necromancers and people supporting necromancers, supporting the temple or visiting. A town that does not have its own name separate from Gorgon, but you are arrived here to visit the Grand Archive of the Wandering Soul, also called the Gorgon Temple, a a temple run by a necromancer sect that is a little older, a little more lenient, with a little more ancient understanding of the necromantic arts than most of the European style that Cal and the others are familiar with. Here in this old library devoted to the study of death. And in finding your way into these um, carved and shaped cave systems, walking through into the foyer of the temple itself, running into, unfortunately, people you probably didn't want to see, Abbot Tinnitus, as well as accompanying him, Cleric Oss, his sort of bulldog of a second. Um, Cleric and Harkin, who is Cal's former teacher, sometime ally, uh, really a very political figure, kind of playing all sides, and Cal's motherly figure in some ways, Cleric Tail, who Cal has not seen since. She was banished and branded a heretic, but that she has been in contact with for a while through messages, constantly warning about the new moves and schemes that Tinnitus is taking in order to hurt or kill Cal and the things she is attempting to do. And as you arrive and confront each other in this echoey stone uh, foyer, flat granite, and the walls and ceiling decorated with endless bones twisting into designs and rosettes and decorations all along the walls and ceilings. Coming across Tinnitus chatting with a worker here, um, uh, seemingly trying to just sort of bypass the testing process that you were all made aware of, bring them in as guests, even though that's not allowed, before noticing that you are here and yeah, noticing that you're here. As Tinnitus turns to all of you, eyes narrow with venom. You. Um, Cleric and Harkin just says Denier and gives you a little nod, and Tinnitus shoots him a glare. You know, he's being polite. He's not like using your title or anything, but like he's just being polite to you, which is not what Tinnitus wants. And Tail fully gives you a smile and says, "Sister Denier, it's good to see you." No, she is not a sister of ours. We rejected her. You rejected her. She is a heretic. Abbott, you cannot genuinely believe I meant that when I said it. You will stay in line, Cleric Tail, if you wish to remain a cleric as well, and be banished alongside of her. And Tinnitus starts kind of like stepping forward, Os like moving into like a guard position behind him, and is starting to gather shadows in his hand. Not like overtly threatening, but look like he's maybe going to start something. As the attendant that was who was speaking to him starts running behind it. It's like, nope, nope, no, no, no. Tinnitus, you know the rules here. There will be no conflict with anyone here, or unfortunately, you will be killed, and all of your guests will be killed. And you cannot allow that to happen. He's kind of ignoring this guy and heading right towards you.
Good to see you haven't changed, Goldick.
I remember you, I think. You're the... Right, the one with the tattoos. Yes, you're
Yep.
mouthy. And me. You also remember me.
Yeah.
Cool. Bad word.
You can say it.
Dick!
Yeah!
Tinnitus looks confused, like he doesn't remember who Kekino is. And Kekino's like, yeah, I got him. I scared him.
Tinnitus doing the Count Olaf, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
He pulls out a notebook and he starts swiping through, and then he looks at Kekino and he starts swiping through, and he goes.
He leans back with his like little pince nez, however they pronounce, like the tiny little glasses.
Oh right, the ferret, Kikinos. Yeah, and anything you say to Tinnitus as he's sort of like starting to square up on you. He doesn't look like he's going to attack. It almost looks like he's preparing for you to attack so he can claim he defended himself, but is still kind of like starting to get up in your space.
Go ahead.
Just that I want to roll an intimidation to go with Goldick. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me an intimidation check.
That's 13.
Okay. 13. He he does not seem to be particularly like fearful or swayed, but he is like keeping more of an eye on you. His like tunnel vision to Cal has kind of like faded a little bit as he's kind of like making sure to watch you as well as he comes forward. You know, clearly established yourself as a threat in his mind. And as he is kind of stepping forward, you hear Sister Tail says, you must be Sister Beliala. It's a pleasure to meet you officially. We've seen each other, but we've never chatted. And you all kind of look up, and Beliala, who is standing right next to you, is now like in Tinnitus's blind spot behind his back with like a knife and gathered shadows. Just, you did not see her move at all. She just shadow walked behind him. Oh yes, your Sister Tail. That's very nice. Tinnitus kind of freezes, caught behind people.
Cal, I just want to say first off, when Cal saw Tinnitus, she like put a hand to her face to be like, "Yep, not wearing a veil." This is the first time she has been face to face with Tinnitus in 25 plus years, and is absolutely just like trying very hard to be neutral in her face and just, like, straight in her posture, but is definitely that, like, sort of, like, trying so hard to overcome, like, frozen terror, and is, like, hand at her, thigh, but she still hasn't replaced her, thigh dagger yet, so she kind of, like, raises her hands and then eventually folds them in front of her, and, when she notices Beliala has jumped behind them, she just very calmly says, "We're not initiating any sort of aggression, Cleric Beliala."
Okay, Cleric, if you insist. And
I do have a question. Would she in this situation use Cleric or Abbot? Because she switches.
She like considers you an abbot, but you've explicitly asked her to call you High Cleric, so it's the kind of thing of like, she says High Cleric because that's what you've asked her to say, not because that's like your position to her in a way. But yeah, she puts her knife away and she just kind of like walks out from behind Tinnitus, just like brushes right by him to rejoin you.
And then she scampers off to the books like, "This isn't my problem."
She goes down, she picks up her rucksack with her like 5 books that she kept with her to go to the library, and yes, is right with you again. As you were kind of squaring off, you hear a little bit of a clicking of things moving and shifting. Give me a perception check. This is for Cal or for anybody.
Not fucking 20.
Whoa!
Jesus.
21 for me, so that's also pretty damn good.
22.
May is just ready for action. She's not actively looking for whatever the noises.
She's like, "I'm looking for my gun."
Yeah, her hand is like on the butt of her pistol, just like waiting.
Just kind of do that thing they do in westerns where you kind of like, you take the gun and you kind of like slide it up a little bit and then just kind of rest it just like loose in the holder.
Yeah.
Everybody's going for their weapons and Jamal's like, "I can beam him in the head with a book."
Well, you know, or at the library, he can make a whole armory out of the papers.
He can probably make a fucking like book golem.
As
Yeah.
you, as part of this perception check, you're actually looking around at the people around you and seeing them kind of prepared to throw down. Jamal has opened the book he brought with him, and the paper in it has kind of like started to fold into a spike of like a shadow spear using paper. Like he is ready to fight as well. And as you say, like, we're not gonna fight, calm down. The spike kind of folds back into the paper, and the words like realign themselves. The book stitches itself back together as he just kind of like gently closes it, but you can see like still has his thumb in the position that it like holding the book, as if he can flip it back open again real fast.
Yes. Accidentally rearranged the text to say "fuck you."
Yeah, honestly, whoever's reading this book is going to be very confused, because now it goes from like page 14 to page 18, and then page 25, and then page 13. As you hear this clicking and clacking, you realize it's footsteps, partially, of someone approaching you. But there's something else too. And Cal, something in your necromantic sense, kind of twinging. Fish, the feeling of otherness, another person, another being, a like potential connection, but not quite, kind of gets your attention. And I think both of you notice, with over 20s, the bones in the walls and ceiling have all shifted slightly, and the rosette of femurs and finger bones that is over the door has kind of shifted into like a skeletal face in a way, and all of the finger bones are now sticking with like a sharp point out of the walls, like they're going to fire on you. You also notice little constructs, little hands clicking together out of bones, starting to reach out for the walls. A small shaking of the floor, as you can see some of the granite tiles starting to lift up, and little finger bones curling around them from underneath. This place is a death trap, and if you are violent here, you will not really have a chance to escape, as suddenly Fish realizes that this whole building is not a person really, but something like a person, something that is feeling that instinct. You can feel almost a connection going back generations and generations with the people who have lived and worked here and died here and been added to the ossuary, making up this library. And Cal recognizes that this entire library is some sort of low-level, like, Gestalt necromantic construct. And as you realize the danger you're in and get everybody to, of course, relax, you see over Tinnitus's shoulder a figure, clearly a necromancer, but clearly a necromancer, but as you've noticed, the necromancers here tend to wear kind of like wear like white or like sand colored robes. There's not a lot of black here, interestingly. Is walking across from the entrance to you, the little check-in guy turning and running over to speak with him, and you can see a little badge, a little decoration on his shoulder on the front of his robes, as you recognize that while this is not the practice in your temple, this is not the practice in a lot of temples that you know, this is a symbol of authority. This is someone in charge. And as Tinnitus finally realizes the sort of danger that is happening, the movement of the bones, and puts away his own magic, sort of steps back. You hear behind you a clearing of a throat coming from this man, and saying, "Noma farsi haf misgezinit." Der sprechen Sie Deutsch? Parlez-vous français?
Oui.
Ah. And if I remember correctly, May has like elementary French, but is not fluent. Am I remembering that correctly?
Enough to hold like a decent conversation, but no like specific technicalities.
Yeah. Fish has comprehend languages on, which means everybody understands. As this gentleman steps forward, everyone you've seen so far has, well, with those perception checks, I think you can really tell, has a sort of a relational similarity. You've seen a lot of the same, noses, the same jaw lines, the same ear shapes. Just very clear that, like, while in your own home, people constantly go from temple to temple, and move a lot. This is a situation where it's like, most of the necromancers here are probably like third or fourth cousins. They're all probably distantly related, as are most of the people in the town, of just being, as you get with just a population of people that have lived in the same area for an incredibly long time. This guy that steps forward does not match that look. He's got a little bit, he's a little bit tanned, a little bit dusky in a way, but not in the Persian look, in more of like a maybe Italian look, something like that. Something maybe a little closer to home. As he says, "Greetings. I should remind you, Sister Beliala, Brother Tinnitus, that you have made agreements to not commit violence within this property, and that to do so would be to invoke immediate death, even if you were to defend yourself. Hello. Welcome the rest of you to our temple. I'm Brother Rain."
Yep.
Am I right in understanding that there are some among you who wish to study here?
Yes.
Ah, and you must be Sister Denier, I believe?
Yes.
He steps forward and shakes your hand. Gives you a very small nod. Pleasure.
Cal accepts the handshake and gives like a little bit of a curtsy when she finishes it, and is just very like carefully watching him, mostly for like social cues.
He seems like, yeah, I mean, you just made a big perception check. I'm not going to make you do an insight check. So I think Fish also gets this information. You get a similar sense to what you got with like Solomon Wreath or like Administrator Tone, of that kind of like steel fist and a leather glove, of just like somebody who is very like polite and like nice and outwardly charming, but like because it comes from a place of like self-assuredness of like your own power and authority in this place, it probably doesn't escape your notice that this necromancer, Brother Rain, could probably be killed by Tinnitus long before the skeletons could react, and seems to not be bothered by that fact in the slightest. Of just somebody kind of in the center of their power. As he greets you, he then makes introductions to the rest of you, goes around shaking hands, probably strategically kind of a right handshake to make sure May gets her hand off of her gun to shake the hand, and welcomes you all very warmly. You can see you have a little bit of an audience as well. A couple of other people have kind of like stepped out of the doorway from the library and are watching this interaction, but not approaching, just kind of staying farther away. And some of them also have this little badge. As he greets everyone, shakes hands with Sister Tail, and then goes to Brother Tinnitus and shakes his hand as well and says, welcome back, brother. And kind of like pulls him into the handshake a little too aggressively and leans close. And with that perception check, you can absolutely hear him say, I will remind you of the agreements that you made when you first gain entrance, and the punishments should you defy them. Play nice, brother. And steps back.
This is also Tinnitus's ex.
They all are. That's what the badge. That's what the badge means.
That's what the badge means. They had to be like, these people, they're not allowed to talk to Tinnitus. When he comes here, these are all the people that are like excused from duty, so they don't have to deal with them. You can give me an insight check if you actually want to see if there's like a prior relationship here or something like that. I don't know if that's something Cal necessarily thinks of.
No, that's just me wanting the drama.
As he steps back and says, Ink, are you rolling an insight check?
No, I'm just adjusting.
Oh, okay. As he steps back and says, I welcome you to our library. If you would like to begin, I think it is important that we separate and that the individuals who are undergoing this test step forward into the side chamber one by one. Brothers, sisters, would you mind joining me? A few of the other kind of staff drift forward, speaking with each other and speaking to Brother Rain, which, by the way, out of game is R-E-I-N-G. R-E-I-G-N, excuse me. You get the sense that he's the face because both he's charming and he speaks languages that they don't, because they seem to mostly be communicating in Farsi, which Fish can understand what they're speaking to each other, and May can kind of get a word every once in a while.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I am going to do the classic "Is he hot?" insight roll.
Yeah, go for it.
Please.
Give me an insight roll. Yeah.
Also, I was going to make the joke, the Fish is going to be like, Regan.
Yeah. 19. We're rolling good today.
Yeah, you are.
Insight 21.
All right. 21. He looks a little bit young for like the position he has. You're reading him.
Oh, a nepo baby.
You're reading him physically as kind of like like very early 30s or something like that. But obviously, it's hard to tell with sorcerers, and you're thrown off a bit at first because his hair has like been like bleached white. Like unnaturally, he's gone gray white at a very early age, and Lucius Malfoy is platinum blonde. Excuse you.
Not hot.
But he seems a little bit more in shape than you would expect from kind of a weird library guy. So I think you go like, he's all right. You know what? In the face, the body, not bad. You know, not the hottest person I've ever seen. You know, not terrible either. Decent looking guy.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and then you know that gets like a he's a 5 out of 10, but he's an 8 out of 10 because he's so confident.
I like the idea that Fish is like keeping a running list of necromancers from hottest to least hot.
Yeah.
It's not just necromancers. Necromancers is the sub list. It's just everybody Fish has ever met.
Yeah. No, is Cal number 1 on the necromancer list, or does Elise or
That
someone
is not
else meet her?
open for disclosure at this time.
You know what? There is Fish has met Solomon Reese.
Yes, Fish is like, unfortunately, Cal is second.
Or fortunately.
Yes, this staff kind of it drifts forward, and mostly by gestures rather than speech, direct you to a small room off to one side. This is seemingly like more in the vein of like, you can see some doors and some tunnels that maybe lead to like living quarters or workspaces or something like that. Something that is temple and not library. And over in this area is is this small chamber that they are opening for you. It is not quite pitch black inside. There's like a single very low lantern, but it's very dark inside. And Brother Rain says, who would like to go first?
Cal puts a hand lightly on Belial's shoulder and goes, I know you're eager to study again, and you're the only one of us who has gone before. I will not force you to volunteer if you do not wish to go first. I will instead, but it'd be my suggestion that you go first.
Is that a good example?
I will do it first. Sister Beliala, you are still in good standing with the library and have no need to reapply, as it were. It is a lifetime appointment, so you only need to do once. Yes, I understand that, but you have my book. Sorry. I had a book when I first applied that I gave to you, and I would like it back. We don't typically do that. Is there a specific reason? Is it sort of the copy of the book? It was a first edition. I had to replace it with a second edition. And she kind of like, it turns to Cal and gives her like a little like awkward thumbs up about playing like, yeah, you know, you got my back on this. I suppose we could probably provide you with a copy if copies have been made. You can keep the copy. I want the original. Okay, I think we'll, why don't you get us the title and we'll discuss it. I'll discuss it with my fellow high clerics, and then we can... I brought other books for trade. Okay, that is good, and will be given due consideration. Why don't we do the initiation thing first? Very well.
As a comfort to Beliala just passes on Kakano to her, so that Kakano can share. You're gonna get your book. It's gonna be okay.
You see Beliala hold Kekino kind of awkwardly. She's held him before, but like instead of being like, "Oh, cuddled like a baby, or be over my shoulder," it's just kind of like hands around the waist, just kind of like face to face. But then you see, you kind of feel the psychic emanations of Kekino as he reassures her. She goes, "Thank you, Kekino." It just kind of like gives him a little squeeze. As this is happening, Cleric and Harkin is like, I suppose I will go first if no one else is volunteering. Please lead the way. The rest of the staff go into the room. The door shuts behind you, and Cal feels this kind of necromantic seal go over as this is shut off.
Kikina goes, "Who's this other seal?"
Who's this other seal?
Yes, okay, good, thank you, Rick.
We continue to have the same jokes.
Yes. Kekino gets distracted by a mirror. Goes, "Who's that other dog?"
Kikino? Why are you here? Are you also going to the library?
Are you also going to the library? Kekino,
Oh, you
don't
already
tell
have a membership?
me.
Why are you so much cooler than me?
As you just sort of awkwardly wait for a moment, this silence pulling between you all, Tinnitus and the others seemingly trying to pretend that you're not there. Sister Teo comes up to you, Cal, and just very briefly rests a hand on your elbow. Your equivalent of a hug that you've established over long time period of knowing each other and knowing Cal doesn't like physical affection. And she says, "Hello, Sister Denier. I'm surprised to see you here, but I'm glad. How are you doing?"
Cal is very quiet, is not like turning to face her. It's just kind of like sitting there for a long moment when she speaks, and then goes, "Well, you never quite could track her, I suppose. So it's not too surprising that you were unaware."
Track who, dear?
Who could I possibly be referring to?
You can't mean Elise?
He's missing.
Immediate look of concern, stepping closer to you, kind of like clutching your elbow a little harder. Missing, or Elise missing?
Missing. Have a lead, which I will not be disclosing to you for obvious reasons.
I understand.
Missing.
She can take care of herself, Caliginus. She'll be okay. If you need anything, there's any way I can help you, please let me know.
In a sneaky, duplicitous, whatever would get around him kind of way. I understand. Right now, I'm not looking for that kind of help.
Tail kind of like looks at Tinnitus out of the corner of her eye, and then back to you and says, "Duplicity has its uses, dear. But I meant more explicit help as well. She's my girl.
I'm valuing allies who can openly stand with me all the time. Not that I don't appreciate your offer, and I may pursue it, but I have people who've come all this way to meet with me because they're willing to show. They're willing to show the world that they are standing with me, and that is the first people I'll be asking for help.
She kind of flinches a little bit, like you struck her in a way, but then she very sadly nods and says, I understand. I'm sure she'll be okay.
Has Fish been able to hear this, or is it low enough?
It's a very quiet conversation, but I do want to respect the fact that you got a nat 20 on perception not that long ago, so I think if you choose to want to be able to hear it, you can.
It's also
Okay.
a quiet conversation she wouldn't be hiding from Fish. It's the kind of thing of like, it's not super easy to direct your voice in one direction, but it's definitely like a directing away from Tinnitus. They're, backs to Tinnitus facing Fish and the others.
Okay. Well, it's just that Fish has commentary to offer to May, but also so that everyone can hear in that way that Fish does, which is there was the perfect opportunity to declare fealty, and that was just not taken. So
maybe our aesthetics are bringing down Caligula's status amongst the necromancers.
Jamal is kind of like near you, just like fiddling with his book, making sure it's back together properly so he can present it. Is like, well, I mean, I wore black, so.
it's just the perfect opportunity to prove that she can stand with Denier and isn't fucking taking it.
May says if she wanted to, she would.
Yeah, no, I understand. Cal talks about her a lot, but never without some anger, I guess.
Econos goes, yeah, so we're working on this whole thing about, like, how guardians should be treating on children left in their care.
I think that we need a children's bill of rights in this country. This country, Persia? No, in, I guess, kind of everywhere.
But definitely in necromancer places, because I've been hearing some stuff, guys, and it's not good.
Necromancers are bad at this. I was talking to Kekino, other Kekino, and he was like, when the local kids are in school, they're like just in school. They're not told about like, you have to become this death god thing.
They get to learn shapes.
They get to learn shapes and counting. As you're chatting, you feel this of the necromantic seal like being undone, and Cleric and Harkin steps out, straight-backed, no longer holding the book he was holding when he went in, looking a little, not sickly in any way, just a little dazed, perhaps, and then kind of focusing his sight and nodding to the others. Who else would like to go?
May's just gonna look at Cal of like, say the
There you
word,
go,
boss.
glorious leader. Yeah. Well, Cal was kind of being like, well, let's have somebody lead a good example for us. Okay, they said no to Beliala, and I did openly offer that I would go in her stead if she didn't want to, doing a very Captain Lawrence with Temeraire thing. She's like, shit. Okay. She, like, gives, Tail a little tap, looks at the squad, and goes, I'll go next. If I don't return, May's in charge.
If I don't return, Kekino is in charge. Yes.
Leo goes, what's my role? First mate. Okay.
Okay. Dad, you need to change my badge. It says Special Detective Kekino, and you also need to add First Mate.
Fish says, "You'll come back."
Probably. And then turns around and start walking.
As you enter this little room, and you couldn't really see them in the dusk before, but there is some chairs kind of in the back that the staff here are sitting in, and Brother Rain is not actually kind of in front in the lead. He's sitting off to the side a little bit. A sister you saw from the door but have not met is sitting a little bit forward, across from a circle carved in the ground. As the door behind you closes and seals, sounds of the library and the other people disappear, and it's just you here, all alone, in a circle of magic, everyone watching you, probably thinking about how much you are missing your veil, maybe. As dark as it would be. Also, Ink, you just lean forward, and is that a painted toilet seat on the wall? Right behind your head. Yeah. That's what it looks like. It's the right shape.
Let's investigate together. It's a circle.
Oh, okay. The angle you were at, it was
stretched.
the perfect shape. I was like, what a weird piece of art to have.
No, genuinely, Ink, every time you move, it is like you're blue skidooing.
Just look at it, okay? Just look at it.
You think this could be on a toilet seat? I don't think so.
But that one could be a toilet seat.
As Cal enters the room and steps into the circle, you hear this high cleric in front of you speak quietly. Salam, Kosh Sivetkam. And then Brother Rain quietly translating behind you. Greetings and welcome to our temple. For the first test, please display an affinity for death magic. Anything will do. But you will be judged on your understanding.
Ooh. Gosh, that's a good question for me as a player. Where would Cal default here? Well, Miss Homegirl's a nun, and I never get the opportunity to use that. So Patrick, you can tell me kind of how to, like, flavor this in a way that makes sense. but I would say leaning towards using some sort of deep death sense to try and pull some sort of like, you know, arcana religious kind of understanding of a significant death that has happened to a body in this fucking Skellawall. Specifically if there'd be anything that would have that like feeling of like tragedy, martyrdom, saint kind of feeling. Something that she'd have like a call to, in the fact that she does have a very like not just necromantic background but religious background, has deeply studied saints' bones, etc.
Yes, give me a religion check, please.
Yeah. Uh, 21.
As you sort of kneel down in this circle, reach out with your senses, looking for tragedy and loss. You feel a little answering tug, and you reach out to that tug. You follow it. Feels like almost being absorbed into the wall, almost being absorbed a little bit into this consciousness. And you pull on that sense that you use in your magic of gentle repose, that separation and isolation from death, that little shield to keep yourself whole, to keep yourself from being absorbed. And you commune with something. The building, or the intelligence, or the history here. Necromantic magic done over and over and over and over again until it's almost combined with the soul of the earth here. And for just a moment you feel like you can commune with something. A person who feels regret, sadness, and loss. You can't pull, really, but you can invite. Do you do so?
Yeah. What's a little possession between friends?
You start to hear the wind of death. You start to hear the sounds of souls. And you reach out and invite. You hear shifting in stone and in bone, and a skull starts to emerge from the wall. First just the skull itself, and a jawbone joining it. As everyone's attention in the room was kind of turned to this skull, this change. And the jaw creaks open. Doesn't quite speak in a way, but expresses. Expresses, I'm sorry. Expresses, I should have been more careful. Expresses, I miss you. But that we'll be together eventually. and then disappears back into the wall. And in this moment of connection, you start to hear something. You start to feel something. Like a hot breath on the back of your neck. A brush of fur against your hand. And finally, as you release this, a distant howl before it disappears, and you let go of this working. You find yourself just as you were, sitting in front of this conclave of people, looking at you, and staring at the one testing you. And you can see that she is crying a little bit, a little teary-eyed. Not sobbing, just a little water in the eyes. And she asks you something, and it is translated, "Why?"
Kevin, I talked to, so the wolf thing's pissed off at you. I just wanted to add that. It's not happy. No, for the why, Cal's gonna, I think just tilt her head a little, like, kind of crack her neck and go, I've always sort of had a, pull to, spirits with a lot of unrest and people who made sacrifices or left things unfinished. My intention was to use something that I knew I could have a strong connection to, even in an unfamiliar place. I'm sorry if it caused you any pain or discomfort.
There was a moment where you realize that these observers are no longer really paying attention to you. They're paying attention to this woman sitting across from you. And she collects herself for a moment and then speaks, and it is translated. That was Brother Raza, my younger brother of flesh, as well as spirit. He was working late and fell from a higher story, broke his neck, was not found until it had been too long to revive him, and so he was added to the library. I have spoken to the soul before, but that was many years ago, and he has been incorporated now. It is impressive that you could accomplish this. I am Sister Rath.
Cal curtsies.
Yeah, you seem like in addition to this testing, there has been like a little bit of a genuine connection of this other high cleric like kind of appreciating what you've done.
Cal looks at her hand and is like, wait, pulling in connections, social section. No!
Yeah.
No, I don't want it to
Yeah.
be mutual. Oh,
Yeah, no, it is. It is. I'm
no!
sorry. Ahem. Sister Rach asks that we move on to the second test, the profession of faith. We are a old sect of necromancy. There were those who studied here before our faith had even been founded. This was a meeting place for those who studied death, who worked with death, created magic with death, before we combined, before we joined and learned and refined. And so we do not need a specific oath. We need you to speak of your relationship with death, something you believe, something that is true. What that is, we do not judge, only its authenticity. Please, whenever you're ready.
Cal bows her head and closes her eyes and says, I have come from a extremely isolationist temple, where I was shut off from anyone but necromancers, and quite against my will, I began to experience and communicate with non-necromancers. And what I learned is that I wanted to share death and the importance of death magic and its significance to our world and our world beyond with all of them, and a shocking but fierce desire that when the Deathbringer comes, that they will be, if not users of the necromancer magic, those whose understanding of the significance of death is enough to, have them share in our salvation.
As you speak, you realize that some of the people are looking at you, but some are not. Some of them are looking at this kind of carved circles in the floor that you realize is slowly filling with sort of a dark purple light. It's some sort of something adjacent to a truth spell that was at the Canadian Sanctuary, but not quite. More of a belief and authenticity. Something reacting to the conviction of your words. Do you fully believe what you are saying?
Cal fully believes what she's saying, and if this adds to it, but also believes it's so strong that if somebody turned around and tried to tell anybody outside the room it, she'd be like, no, I fucking didn't say that. Why would I say that? Some gay shit.
The strength of your conviction shines through, and Sister Rag nods her head and is translated. Then only the final test remains. Please present your addition to the library and tell us what it is.
Cal clears her throat, takes out the little Jamal bound book from one of her pockets, and is like, I do not know how much you know about this plague that has been afflicted upon necromancers lately. Rumors of a black dog and necromancers going missing or killed. I have tried to be the expert on this subject for the safety of my temple, as well as the safety of anybody who reaches out for help, whether or not they're friend or foe. Any information I've learned has been put in this text with the intention to keep all of you safe, and as just as importantly, be able to provide that information to anyone who comes here for help.
Okay. As you hand over the book, would you please give me an insight check with disadvantage, just because the room and most of the people in the back are functionally invisible to you?
Also, this is Cal's hell.
Yeah.
It could be worse, but just people staring at her in general and seemingly judging her. That sucks. This is disadvantage, but I did roll a nat 20. However, it wasn't awful. Oh god, I forgot my insight's so high. I have an 18.
Okay. With an 18, you can see everyone sort of weighing your words. Some of the people who are here are looking at you with a lot of concern of like, what's happening? What's going on? That's crazy. And others are giving each other a knowing look of being like, yes, the issue. Seems to be like kind of different levels of informed about what's going on. And when Sister Rag takes the book from you, one of the other necromancers kind of leans forward and says something, and she passes it to him, and he like instantly starts leafing through it to kind of like get this information. It seems
Cal doesn't go, there is pictures, what you did.
It seems like this is not like a universal concern for them. They are not necessarily. This is a place that is a little bit isolated. Its knowledge comes in the form of books and paperwork and stuff, things written after the fact. Current events are maybe not their specialty, but at least some people here seem to know about this issue and be concerned about it. Maybe stories from other visitors, things like that. Some others seem like politely confused, like there's a big issue, and it's like, well, it can't be that big of an issue if we don't know about it. Some seem like kind of excited to get this information. And with an 18, you see a couple of people in the back kind of like lean and speak to each other very quietly while looking at you. Maybe people who would want to approach you about this knowledge later, or maybe it has something to do with what they themselves study or their own concerns that maybe you are could be a party to. But they accept the book with a certain amount of reverence, and Sister Rag smiles at you, and her words come back translated. Thank you for this gift of the library. We will review it and see if we accept it into our collection. If so, you will be welcome permanently among us with the following rules. No violence, even in self-defense, may be committed against another person within the confines of the library or the surrounding town. Materials from the library, original materials from the library, may not be taken out of the library without express permission from one of the high clerics, including us here. Copies may be made and taken out. And the open archive of the library is available to you. The living quarters and sort of temple area is still off limits, as well as the forbidden archive. And that's kind of like, oh, what? Huh? Say what? They seem to like genuinely be impressed by what you put forward here and seem to be welcoming to you. You get the sense like technically they could reject you on the basis of your book not being good enough. You don't get the sense that that is even remotely likely to happen. You know, maybe Cal's anxiety is like spiking on that, 1% chance or something, but it seems like you have already been accepted in all but name officially. You are also told essentially a little bit of how the library works. It becomes much less like test-like and much more informative of just kind of how the library works. There is essentially a daily fee to use the library that is significantly smaller as someone who is joined and can go do their own research, just a maintenance fee for the library itself. If you are an outside scholar who doesn't do this test, you've got to hire someone else to do your research for you. That is a far more expensive fee, and they say there are workrooms available both within the library and without. And they thank you for your time, and you're free to go.
Cal curtsies again, makes eye contact with the woman. What was her name again?
It is a Farsi word. You wouldn't know this, but it would translate for fish, so maybe they would share it later. It's essentially, her name is Sister Jugular, but it is spelled R-A-G, like rag.
Rag. Okay,
but
got it.
It's not quite pronounced like that, but also just like the Maharu, I don't pronounce it properly anyway.
You're doing your best.
that gets hard and annoying pretty fast. So it's Sister Rag. Yes, you can tell that she is like a respected kind of senior high cleric, in the same way that Brother Rain is, one of the people who run things around here. And yes, they thank you and bow you out. From there, I think we will abstract a little bit. Tinnitus's people go through and seemingly all get approval as Tinnitus and the others eventually fuck off while you guys are still going through your process. As May and Fish go in, whichever one of you wants to start first, tell me the way you show understanding of necromantic magic and power, your expression of belief, and what's the item you pass over.
Ellie, what order would you like to go in? Okay, well, let's say Fish next. I was thinking, and this is not how life transference works, but like just for the flavoring of the way that the scene can be, because like we don't have anyone who's injured currently, but like let's say that there's a dead plant.
Yeah.
And Fish is like, hold up, I got this. Cut finger, heal the plant. Life transference.
Okay. If you use life transference, it is accepted, and as you use it, rather than feel like this connection to death the way Cal does, you instead feel a little bit of a connection to Cal for just a moment. She kind of enters your thoughts in a way that you're recognizing as like a very small expression of your magic, representing the kind of binding and relationship between you two. What is your expression of belief?
That the dead are all around us, but it upsets and freaks Fish out. That's not the right wording. But it upsets and freaks Fish out to acknowledge it because they have, because they are Maori, but they've also taken on a lot of beliefs of, Indigenous Australian culture, as taught by teacher.
Mhm.
And
Every once in a while, weird like Catholic stuff still coming in from their mom. Yeah.
certainly, and so just their experiences of being in their father's realm and seeing like these ghosts of their relatives, people that they've never even met. It feels wrong sometimes to look at them, to learn their names, because for Aboriginal culture, you don't look at photos, you don't speak their names. Like teacher's name left Fish, and it's gone, and it's not coming back. Part of them feels like that should be the case with their family, and yet their dad has also been like, but you should also know your people and who you come from.
Yeah.
Basically,
There's this kind of thing of like teacher's soul went through your dad's realm as part of a visit, and like so your dad probably knows teacher's real name and is like not going to share it or even think about it, but then
Yes.
the like ghosts of your relatives are more like constructs from memories. They're not like the real spirit, so maybe that doesn't count for names. It's probably pretty confusing for Fish. It's a lot of
Yes.
different belief systems coming together.
And that confusion still like counts as part of that belief. It's like, hey, I've got a lot of conflicting ideas in my head, but what I want to do is be respectful of all of them, but that makes it feel like I'm not respecting any of them. Death sucks and is horrible, and you should mourn as a community and not as an individual. If you're an individual, hold it inside. I'm a sad person. That's not what they say. But, like, is that a reasonable, like, expression of belief?
It is something about death that you believe to be true. So, as Fish, it probably stumbles a little bit on the contradictions, but is trying to word it in a very persuasive way. What comes across is death is contradictions. It is both incredibly sad and painful, and also the absence of pain and somebody moving on. People are gone forever, and it's going to happen to everyone, but also you'll be alive in the memories of those people who loved you, like your dad. Once someone dies, they should be moved on mentally. You don't speak their name or look at pictures or images of them, but at the same time you really want them to like stick around and stay in your heart and keep affecting you. And just being like, death is messy and complicated and contradictory and very human is a authentic expression of belief. Being like, I don't have the answers is sometimes the most honest thing someone can do, and they seem to accept it readily. And you do see a couple of them nodding, like they agree with you, being like, yeah, I get it and I understand where you're coming from. What is the addition to their collection that you are providing them?
They wrote some silly little poems as part of Cal's assignment. They're not going to submit that. They also wrote like a genuinely attempt at perhaps like connecting the death realm with godly realms and ethereal realms, and then they were like, I don't know what I'm fucking talking about. Cross all of that out. And so while Cal was in there, they went, hey, do you have any any books that you're willing to? Can I have that one from Beliala? And just whatever she was willing to part with. They're like, here you go.
Beliala gets out her books, flips through some of them, and is like, no. It seems like pulling them out, and you're like, yeah, thanks. And she's like, no, not this one.
Oh,
Putting it away.
And the whole time they're like, "Hey, so why'd you bring this one if you don't want to give it away?"
Well, if I reference this one, there is a question. Okay, so when you conduct certain necromantic spells, there is something we called osteopathic pressure, which is a magic term that refers to the pressure wave on the body of channeling necromantic magic. And there's some interesting writings about it in this book, and I want to cross-reference that with this other book because I'm making a spell. It like devolves into like really technical language like instantly.
Yeah, and so just
It's like I'm using this as
no.
reference materials. Oh, I get that. For this specific thing, you lost me entirely.
Yeah,
Jamal,
don't stop telling me things and just tell me what book to take.
Jamal also has extra books, but that would require speaking to Jamal.
Yeah, no, not happening. Yeah.
Well, I think you do get a book that's like technical necromantic knowledge that you don't even claim to understand, but Beliala seemed to be like, yeah, I mean, this one's okay, you can have it. And I think
on the fly, Fish goes, well, you know how my belief was about how it's all confusing? So's the book. Here you go.
Okay, but you do give the book and not the poems?
Yes.
Or anything? Okay. As you pass that over, they seem to appreciate it. You get much of the same spiel as Cal, and you are free to go. We will now move over to May. What does May do to show an understanding of necromantic magic?
So in season 1, May had a symbol which she produced herself on her jacket to give her resistance against necromantic magic. So
correct. I wanted to know if you remembered that. Yes.
Yeah. So with their permission, she comes down to her knees on the floor, uses mold earth to show the symbols that she used to create that effect.
This is probably a combination of like modern sorcerer symbology with a lot of ancient Egyptian stuff you've gotten from various like tombs and things. Yeah,
exactly. And then I don't know, we'll ask one of them to, if they can, do something magical to it that doesn't activate the killer library, so they can see like it's dampened by what she's done.
They one of them volunteers and like throws out a tendril of magic that like loops around and covers the jacket in like a dark smoke that you can't see through, and then like shrinks it, and then as soon as it's like within the effect of the jacket, you can see that it goes from like a dark gray to like a very thin thready light gray that you can start to see through, and they all go, oh. And you can actually see somebody is like taking notes to like write this down and bring it into the library. It seems like this is not how they expected this test to be passed, but they absolutely accept it. You get the sense that that as part of being kind of open to everybody, they are open to like non-necromancers who at least have an understanding of necromantic magic and therefore can get something from the library. And while they probably necromantic symbol magic is not something they see very often, it is interesting and they like it. What is your profession of faith?
May's profession of faith is that she believes that death is not the end and also not the worst thing that can happen to a person. And to complement that, using Kat shows them all her experiences at war and seeing, the torment and the cruelty, and how for some people death was a release from, fatal injuries, chronic pain, so on and so forth. And then adds that some people seek to abuse the power that death has, referring to the triumvirate, and that she plans to do all in her power to stop that. And in that moment, at least, she believes it.
All right. As you are expressing this, the dynamic between personal suffering and the weight of history and how death can be a release, you see that while people are like nodding along, Brother Rain seems to like genuinely be like agreeing with you and seems to be like a little bit touched on what you say. Maybe something personal there, but. Yes, they accept that belief as true. The circle lights up with power, and you pass. What is your addition to the library?
After Cal was like, "Hey, bitch, I need you to write up a casual treatise on everything you know about death."
And May is like, I never do anything casually.
It turns out her like perfectly like calligraphed full-on thing. May ended up writing. She focused, as May is very pro-mortal, ended up writing everything she knows about death throughout mortal history, not as like statistics of death of culture, with a strong interest obviously in ancient Egyptian cultures, and also providing like hieroglyphics and everything were relevant, like passages she remembers like enough to quote lines from and stuff like that, and explains it as that, like a treatise on death as a mortal concept.
It's very interesting because you've been able to pull in some things that like Cal has told you, and some things that Sinner in moments of vulnerability have expressed that he saw a little bit. And there is this sort of thing about being like, maybe the ancient Egyptians were talking about the same realm that necromancers explore now, the like version of the Nile that the soul travels down being so similar to like the subtle grade of the canyons of death leading you deeper in. And yeah, it seems like they really appreciate the scholarship of it, and in a way that you don't know, that has not happened with the others, but hasn't really. There is actually a little bit of like a back and forth about like scholarly, about being like about like, oh, what do you think about sort of this death myth? Yeah, I always thought it was really interesting. You get like a little bit of a discussion back and forth about the subject matter in a way that's really interesting to you. But yes, everything goes well, and you seem to be accepted, and you are allowed to go. Jamal goes in and does his time as well. You, of course, not privy to that. And then Kekino says, well, let it be known that there's nothing a first mate won't do. Okay, Dad, I'll see you soon. Goes in. Each of your, like...
I don't think you have... Okay.
Yeah, the door kind of closes behind you. Each of your like appointments has been like 15 minutes or so. That seems to be a lot longer just because you're not really doing anything and it's stressful. Kekino goes in and like 3 minutes later comes out, and so they go, Dad, it said that because I'm constructing from you and you did it, that I don't have to do it, but they said that I was very sweet, and we talked about my necklace that Colliginus gave to me, and that was very nice.
Aw, yeah, that's good. Well, we saw the badges earlier, and I couldn't help but think of, your necklace, and maybe we can get another line added, like, once we're official members, which basically it's happening already.
Oh, yeah, I could be like assistant to the librarians.
Exactly.
Yeah, and as Kekino is like the last, the rest of the staff kind of like follow him out of the room and go along to their own work. Brother Rain steps up to you all and says, I'm sure you're very tired from your trip, and while things seem excellent on our end, no trouble that we can foresee, technically we do need to take a day to assess the materials you provided. So starting first thing tomorrow morning, if all goes well, you'll be welcomed into the library. And until then, hopefully, you will avail yourself of the provisions and entertainments in town, rest off your travels, and we'll see you soon.
Cal addresses him and goes, Abbotinius is my former abbot and still feels a form of possession towards me that would lead to him doing me harm. I know you said no violence in the town, even in self-defense. When we are away from the construct, what is to prevent someone initiating violence?
Everyone who is a resident of this town is aware of the rules and will not hesitate to step in should they witness something. Unfortunately, eyes cannot be everywhere, and so should someone turn up injured, we will do our best to heal them and get their own version of events, and if that is not possible, investigate ourselves. We are actually, uh, well, Brother Ostore has a new shipment in of a species of scorpion that has actually been unknown to us from your area of the world, I believe, Miss Gladly. And we are very excited to have a volunteer to see what happens to the body when they are stung to death. I cannot speak to what Abbotinitus will or will not do. I can only speak to what we will do in response, if that is some comfort.
Not particularly, but I appreciate the disclosure.
And you are free and ready to leave. I will say May is probably doing okay. The rest of you, severe jet lag. It's like kind of like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and you have not just jet lag, but you've probably been awake for probably like 14 hours at this point or something like that, and traveling over the mountains. It's probably time to chill and relax a little bit.
Also, the scorpion fish is just amazed and confused and wants to like talk to the scorpion about what's going on.
Yeah.
It's like they've
Hey.
totally like just gone on a different track entirely.
Yeah. You can probably like pull aside one of the clerics that's leaving and be like, "What's this about a scorpion?" And they're like, "Oh, the body farm is great. People don't often break the rules, so we don't get to do it very often. But yes, it's very important to our medical understanding to see how people die in different scenarios."
And then they're like, "Oh, you need rule breakers, do you? I can source some. I can source them."
Which is like, so if I'm so annoying, it causes someone to cause violence to me. I'm innocent, and they get to be killed.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and it helps you guys.
Craig?
He went and came back.
What?
That has happened before, and it did not have any kind of interruption or problem with the recording.
He had to go to his other job.
Yeah. Yeah, for just a split second. If I remember correctly, any word that was said in like the genuinely like half a second that he wasn't here won't be recorded. Otherwise, everything's perfectly fine. Yeah, as you all step out back into the village and appear once again into the daylight, it's probably a little bit shocking going from feeling really deep underground to once again being kind of out in the open air and the forest and everything being good. And looking at this little village going about its little stuff. As you're heading out and chatting, Cal gets a call on the sending stone, and unfortunately, Mooney I think just ducked into the bathroom. So if there's any other,
Here, I'm just grabbing a lemonade.
Oh, okay.
Never assume anything.
Never assume anything. It's because I can hear. I can hear a door opening and then another door opening.
This is why you need to have a bell on me.
Yeah, no, it's true.
So you can track me through the house.
As you get a call on your sending stone, it's from the temple. It's from Rousseau.
Yeah, Kelkit takes it. I don't think she tries to get like privacy. I think she's like, buddy system.
Hi, Caligulus. Remember that there was remember that Abbot Tinnitus had planned an attack on the temple. We got the information that there was shadow creatures that were going to try and infiltrate in order to spy on us. So we put the temple on high alert before you left.
Yes.
We were prepared, and we had some of our clerics exploring the surrounding area. That it's not uncommon for them to hide in deep shadows to prepare for an infiltration. One of our clerics reported a sound of howling, and when I and a few others went out, we saw a shadow creature being torn apart by a large hound-like creature. We assume the one, and then it disappeared over a ridge, and we tried to track it and could not. The shadow creatures have entirely disappeared. We don't know why the hound would attack them in any way, but we are still on high alert and maintaining a perimeter. We just wanted to let you know that something like that had happened.
I'm saying this as a joke, but now I genuinely think this has some merit. Is the fucking hound, like, cool with Caligulus specifically? Being like, I'll get rid of these for you, bro. And then, like, having a vision where he's just like, hey, pet me.
I'm going all in on this.
His fur is soft, and now I'm just imagining him doing like figure eights to Cal's like pet me,
and eventually Cal accepts it because guess what? The cat doesn't like it.
Yes, once you get that smell on you, the cat leaves you alone.
Cal's like, somebody's like, seals are dogs of the ocean. And she's like, oh my god, I am a dog girl.
Yeah, I'm a dog girl.
Sorry, Swifty.
You do have now, more direct eyewitnesses that you can ask about this creature, kind of what happened. And the report you get back matches a lot of what the other reports were, just in a little more detail, of being like, it is kind of Lupin in form. It's very wolf-like, but it has like oversized front end that's kind of bear-like, and you kind of understand why this is a creature that is like, well, it's a black dog. Well, maybe it's a different kind of like quadrupedal, like death creature. Why identifying it has been difficult, because there are so many like hound-like beings from death, and then there's no report of the figure, the bipedal figure that may or may not be the same thing as the hound. As you head through town, maybe grab an early dinner and get ready to rest and settle in for the night. Does that sound about right?
Yep. Cal's just also like... Cal like keeps forgetting to keep an eye on Jamal because she forgets that he's never traveled before, and then she'll be like, "Oh shit, Jamal, are you okay?"
Jamal has been wandering. He keeps stopping at like stalls, and like there's people like selling paper and notebooks and inks, and he's like, ooh. So you have to keep being like, my own thoughts. Wait, where's Jamal? Can I still see him?
Fish goes, "This is what I said about the fucking leash."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just occasionally, Fish may cross his path and go, "Ah, you're looking at the inks. They made them out of dead people, you know. Ah, you're looking at the books. They make them out of dead people, you know."
Roll me a intimidation check.
Okay. There's like a booth that's bones, and Fish goes, those are fake.
I mean, in Jamal's defense, if he's used to dealing with vellum, that is made from animal skin. So
No, that's what I was gonna say. It depends on the role.
Good news, everyone. I've got a hilarious nat 1. that makes
Good for
a
Jamal.
5.
Yeah.
As you hold up a vial of ink and kind of roll it around and go, they make this from dead people, you know. Jamal snatches it out of your hand, and goes, no, they do not. This does not have the right consistency of corpse ink.
It's like, oh yeah, you're studying corpse ink. Yeah, fucking weirdo. Yeah, I bet your girlfriend loves that. Bye.
he does actually.
Yes.
Does also from my old job. Wait, Fish. Yes, just absolutely and totally fails. He immediately dunks on you, and you head back to your little inn. It's gotten a little bit rowdier later in the day. There's like not like a full like pub room, but there's a little bit of a dining room where you can get some food and some drinks, and the people seem to be hanging out. And as you push your way through the crowd and start heading up to your room and going through all that, you reach the you reach your room. You find the arcane lock is still intact. And as you go to do the password, Fish is opening the door to let you in. Cal feels something a little bit with her necromantic senses. What do you do?
So, like, May is walking into her closet and everybody else is just, like, hanging out in the room?
No, in going into the room itself, Fish has basically just come up to the arcane lock and like said the password to unlock it, and is like hand on the doorknob, like opening
But the
it.
arcane lock is inside the closet door.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you locked the outside door and then separately the closet door.
I'd tell you, but we don't have the recording. So
That's true.
Correct,
I feel like it
Patrick.
doesn't make sense for us to have done that, though. To be honest, like
No, I remember doing everything on the
closet.
closet door.
Yeah.
Like it was a normal room
Yeah.
lock for the outside door, and then arcane and shadow on the closet door. That's what I
then
remember.
Then we'll assume that that's how it happened. Then Fish is just unlocking the door normally with a key as you're heading in, and you feel a little twinge of necromantic something. You're not like actively reaching out with your death sense in the moment or anything, and this is a place that is absolutely suffused with death magic, so you kind of pulled your senses in a little bit just to not get overwhelmed. Do you do anything?
Cal like puts like a arms out for everybody when she notices that, and then I think yeah, she'll put arms out and she'll be like, "There's something off. Just don't be hasty with violence, just in case. I don't know if somebody has been coming into our rooms." And then she'll look at May when she says that, but she goes, "But proceed with caution, but do not have to violence."
May's gonna roll perception immediately.
Okay. The door is still not open yet, so this could be like sound or smell or sixth sense, feel the vibe.
That is a 26.
oof. Holy shit.
Yeah, my
Okay.
perception is really good.
Yeah, no, don't worry about what I was considering.
Actually, you know what? Because I got a bad fucking feeling, I'll needlessly use a flash of genius to boost it up to a 30.
Go for it.
Because I know you have some DCs that are DC 30.
Yeah, Patrick likes to be like DC 45, and it's like, okay, asshole.
Hey, you know what? There's a lot of things that DMs would be like, this is literally impossible for you to do. And I'm like, it's not impossible, technically. There is a world in which you can get up there. What kind of senses do you focus on?
I think, because Cal has implied, it's death. Like, she's sensing this death magic. It's gonna kind of like look for like arcane stuff, I guess. I know that's a different role, but like perception of like, okay, are there any traces of being here and done something?
Mm-hmm. You're examining the door frame, the door, the lock, the knob, and not seeing any traces of anything. There doesn't seem to be any new carvings or any hidden spells activating. As you're paying really close attention, you end up getting down kind of on the ground to examine the like very base of the door, and there's a little bit of a gap, not enough for you to see through, but enough for you to maybe smell through a little bit. Something smells
Kekano sniff.
wrong. We can do a Kekano sniff.
Is that what I get at a 30? Yeah, definitely get Kekano in there then.
It smells
No.
smelly.
Stinky.
No, but I'm saying if Kekano is gonna come and help you.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
You are crouched down. You are crouched down at the side of the door, and Kekano joins you. He's like, something smells wrong, like not good.
You know what Kekano says? Kekano's like, smells like updog in here. And
Smells like
around to
updog in here.
Desperate for someone to ask what's up.
And then Kekino gives Fish a high five.
Yeah.
Uh,
Fish has to be out in the hallway because they are screaming with laughter.
It smells a little bit like almost ozone, which is a smell you kind of associate with like dimensional travel.
I was gonna
Um,
say, bitch, I remember the Faceless Ones, Derek Landy, 2010.
Something that happens with a little bit teleporters and dimensional shunters, but those two don't smell exactly the same, although you would struggle to put into words exactly how they're different. And this doesn't smell like either of them, but is reminiscent of it. But it also smells like decay and not like rot, but like abandonment and just a little bit of like something you would kind of describe as adjacent to wet dog. And I think in this moment you can, with that perception check, open the door very slowly, double checking for tripwires and everything, and be the kind of first one into the room with that 30 to observe what has happened. As you slowly open the door and peek around, no traps, nothing hidden. The lock is intact. Doesn't seem any signs that it was unlocked or forced by magic in any way. In the center of your room, just on the wooden floor, is a bunch of what you would describe as corpses if they weren't magical constructs. They are like not quite two-dimensional, but very thin, person-like shadows. Shadow men. Arms torn off, slowly bleeding like a black smoke as they disappear. Just a pile of corpses in the room. And almost invisible. The DC for this was 25, so I think he would have hit it without Flash of Genius, but almost invisible in like, it's like a blood trail, but instead it's just like a small little magic trail. You see paw print, paw-ish print, paw-ish print, disappears.
Hang on. I want to check something with the spell.
I would like to do the thing that I was thinking of doing, but now I will actually do it. Let's do a blink just to go and check out the ethereal realm.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. As you blink into the ethereal realm, things become ghostly and strange. You're kind of disassociated from your own body, and the physical world doesn't seem quite real. You can see into the rooms next to yours and through the window. There's a figure sleeping in the room to one side of you. The other room seems empty. Little spots of movement, maybe a mouse or something running along a wall. You don't see anything like observing you, but you do see kind of like, as the world goes blue and white and foggy, there's a strange smudge of, it almost looks in your ethereal sight like oil. And you don't quite know what it is, but it is around the area being led to by the footprints that May points out to you. You have never seen the effects of dimensional travel while within the ethereal plane since you've gained this power, but you can see this like oil slick like pretty quickly like shrinking and getting smaller and starting to disappear and starting to heal, of like something pushing between realms, and maybe the ethereal plane is adjacent enough to whatever happened to get a little bit of the after effect as that starts to disappear.
Yeah. When Fish comes back, they're going to report, hey, something was certainly here and certainly left using a more powerful version of the thing that I just did.
Also, because I don't think anybody else has ever watched you do Blink, Fish
No.
walks into the room, goes, hold on a second, disappears. Doesn't even have like a sound like a teleporter does. No sense of magic going off in a way or anything. Not even like a displacement of air that May would be able to notice with that perception check. Just like suddenly they don't exist. And then they exist again, and they're in like a slightly different place, like one step forward, looking at something on the ground. Yeah, there's nothing here.
Yeah, they're just like,
fuck.
hold on, be up. I don't know, guys. It was something.
May's like, oh, that's what you were doing in that closet.
Disappearing? Yes.
Yeah.
As far as May can tell,
for drama purposes, Fish goes, yeah, so if you're hiding anything from me, I'll find it eventually.
Like, okay.
Yeah, maybe. What?
Okay, the intention was like to ramp up May's paranoia. Don't worry about that.
I mean, yeah, probably that works. Speaking of paranoia, with that perception check, May examines the closet, probably has Cal undo their protections, as with Fish, and checks on things. Doesn't look like it was disturbed at all. Everything is exactly how you left it. None of your stuff has been touched. There is just a weird pile of magical corpses in your room now, and signs that the whistling creature was here.
Cool.
Cool.
Other evidence of protecting the gang and their interests,
or actively fucking over Tinnitus.
Yeah.
This is something
Tinnitus.
This is something Tinnitus sent to attack Cal's temple, and now they've been killed by this thing. But also, why is it here?
It's like a cat, and it was like, here's the bird I killed for you.
Yeah.
It is. It does kind of seem like that to Cal a little bit.
Fun.
Well,
What do you guys do?
You're gonna come here and you know, got some dinner on the way, so you're gonna go to sleep probably. Do you like change rooms?
Shouldn't we get some evidence to show to old mate librarian to be like, aha, attempted assassination. Yeah, Tinnitus, out of here.
How are we collecting this evidence?
Cat. Plus, like, so how quickly are they disappearing, Patrick?
They're disappearing. The footsteps are disappearing a lot faster than the bodies itself, and the kind of like effects of whatever that Fish saw of like a portal out of here is disappearing the fastest. The bodies are like slowly unraveling and disappearing. It's like you kind of watch it for a moment and you're like, okay, can definitely take some pictures with Cat. At this rate, I may be able to like show a head or something to the librarians if we like grab it and pick it up and leave right now. But definitely enough to get like photo evidence and maybe some kind of samples. Although, like, if you could preserve it in some way is entirely Cal's doing, not something you really have any understanding of.
Okay. Fish goes, I'll go get the white-haired guy, and you guys record it with Cat.
Cal is so exhausted, and she's like, understands this is a good idea, but she's just like, oh my god, this is day one. Honestly, he's probably gonna try to kill me every subsequent day. And it's also just like, even though this is not necessarily something that she ever experienced, because she's never had to report it to someone else, but that's still that it's like abuse together. But like, we're gonna complain, and then nothing's gonna happen, and then they're gonna blame us.
Oh.
Kel's just like walking into the room and like kicks a shadow arm out of her way to be like, I'm going to bed.
Yeah. Cal is like, okay, I'll stay for Rain to come back. She's so tired. Also, she's doing a head count of like she's on a field trip. She's like, okay, there's Jamal, Beliala, Willie Beliala.
Beliala is back here with me.
Okay.
Hello.
But yeah, if Fish is like, let's get it, Cal's like, okay.
They basically sprint off to where they last saw Rain.
Yeah, sounds good. You can sprint off. As you get there, Rain is not like obviously anywhere around, but there is a guy at the front desk who is dealing with Tinnitus before he can run up and be like, I need High Cleric Rain or anybody.
Got some shit to show you.
Got some shit to show you. It's about a potential attack. Yeah, it takes it is not as immediate as you would like, as you're kind of dancing back and forth, but High Cleric Rain does come out, and you can take him with you.
While this happens, May goes to the closet, takes out her special fridge chest, takes all the food out, and crams as much as a corpse as she can into it, because nothing decays well in the fridge. I'm kind of hoping that might apply here.
Yeah.
She rolls it up.
I mean, Cal will also cast Gentle Repose, maybe instead of the fridge plan.
But it doesn't work.
Give me. I'd say I want both of you to make me an Arcana check. Like
to make this
together.
happen.
Roll the fridge.
Both of them should work.
Roll for fridge. And as you're kind of like scurrying around and trying to do this, and Cal's like, God, I'm so tired. Beliala just kind of like sidles up to you and is like, High Cleric Denier, why are there dead shadow people in our room?
Cal's like,
Is this intentional or?
Mary, these were somehow gathered from the attack at the temple, right? Was I not following that correctly? Somehow gathered from the attack at the temple that Tinnitus sent us, and I don't know if it.
As far as the evidence that you and the others have been able to gather, the most likely story you can put together is the shadow creatures were hanging around the temple / attacking the temple. Whatever this hound creature was showed up, killed them, used a doorway through the realm of death to drag them to the other side of the world and leave them in your room, like some kind of offering or trying to stunt on you. You have no idea.
Yeah, cause like these seem to be from the place of the attack. Not wanting to immediately present the insane theory, she's like, maybe something about the spell backfired and pulled them back to Tinnitus, and something involving
Interesting.
the beast that's been following people. I don't know. Fish's idea that we can use this as evidence that he has something. He's conspiring against me. It's a good idea, but the circumstantial evidence will be difficult, especially with this amount of magic going on. And I don't really know if it's worth the effort.
As Fish arrives back with Cleric Rain and
By the way,
Beliala.
the entire time they've been like, and you know what? He does this all the time. He treated her badly growing up. She doesn't like to talk
Yeah.
about it, but like, you can tell. I can tell. I have an eye for it. You know, he made his entire all of everyone that she ever knew publicly humiliate and shame her. I was there. I saw it happen, and then I kind of contributed to it 5 minutes later. Don't worry about it. She's fine now. And then also earlier she was talking to Sister Tail, who basically is her aunt, and was like, "You could join me." This was the way that I interpreted the conversation, and Tail said no, so fuck her. And yeah, so my thing is, I think that they left the monsters in the room to ambush us, but something else got to it anyway. In you go. Now you have all the information. Get rid of Tinnitus, please. Make him fuck off.
As you head back in, Beliala has been like, "Ooh, interesting," and is like crouched down and is using a knife to kind of like pick up pieces and separate them and like pick through the pile.
Oh, I forgot to tell
right
you
to
my
the
roll.
pile.
I got a 21.
Yeah. You do still need to tell me your roll. 21 and
I got a 19, which I'm boosting with Flash of Genius.
okay.
Because we're about to go again.
Then sorry, it was 19 before Flash of Genius.
19 after.
Then
hey, hold on, one more. Where's I put down my d20 and it disappeared.
it happens.
Persuasion to convince
Yeah,
Rain
absolutely.
to-
No,
God.
give me a persuasion check.
I hate him. He's such a dick.
He's bad.
8.
Oh,
Teacher, he's bullying me.
Your story is a little disjointed and not the most clear because you're both out of breath from running. So it's just like, and then he was such a dick.
and rambling half remembered events from 2 years ago. So
Yeah.
you know.
And also interrupting and being like, you know, I think she's a huge bitch and I don't like her, but I mean, it's not okay for him to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a totally
no.
different dynamic. What we have is a different thing. They've got like a parental thing, and that's not okay.
Cleric Rain is struggling to follow the story a little bit, but definitely got the gist of we think Tinnitus is bad and we have an issue with him.
Yeah.
As you get back and Cleric Rain steps in saying, Cleric Snapper explained some of the situation, I think. Is there anything else anyone would like to add? And with your Arcana check rolls before, by the time Rain has gotten there, the bodies have entirely disappeared, except
what
for...
about the fridge?
Let me finish. Except for you have stuffed bodily pieces into the little fridge. It's like it's like an arm up to the shoulder. It's like a head. Like you're able to kind of like, because they're like not quite 2D, but they're very thin. You kind of like fold them over each other to get more in.
He's a master packer.
You find that it doesn't fully stop them. They do still disappear, and it's because they are essentially dissolving into the energy of death, necromantic energy. It's like, you know, where does a shadow spear go after you cast it? And Cal is able to come in and use her magic and gentle repose to kind of like enforce it to, in some ways, not like rotting or going away. In some ways, Cal is like forcing it to retain its shape for a little bit, as this is the only piece of surviving evidence other than what you've recorded with Kat that you can display.
May makes it clear that she would like happily like testify in the truth circle, like with that memory of that, you know, it is a true memory that she is showing him.
Yeah. He says that won't be necessary, but clearly you offering like won some points with him, as he is picking through. He's doing some magic on these creatures, and offers to take the fridge from you to do some other investigatory spells, kind of at the library. The end result essentially is that he says, we cannot prove that Abatinitus summoned these to attack you here, but this is a concerning series of events. We will be watching both yourself and Abatinitus much more closely to ensure nothing like this happens and succeeds. And I think when you wake up the next day and head out, you can, like, it's subtle, but with your passive perception, I think you can tell there's a little bit of, like, there's a library necromancer hanging out on that roof, keeping an eye on us. There's a library necromancer who's, like, in the dining room when we came downstairs. Just, like, a little bit of, like, not like
Witnesses.
yeah, not like stalking you in any way, but like keeping an eye on you in kind of like a protective stance. In fact, as you all go to bed that night, if you're fine with it, you stay in the same room. Otherwise, you ask for like a room next door. But as you sleep in your room that night and get up the next morning, ready to hopefully join the library itself, somebody just for the whole party, give me a perception check as you're leaving.
Do it, Miss Ellie.
Yeah. The one time it's not fantastic. That is 18.
Okay. You're noticing these kind of watchers from the library. You don't recognize any of them from the interview. You assume, based on kind of like the quality of their clothes and the fact that they look kind of on the younger side, that they're more like junior members, kind of tasked with watching over you and keeping an eye on things. There is a moment where it doesn't quite feel like Sinner is watching over you, but it feels familiar in that way when you notice a like one of the
Handsome
clerics
beefy man.
is
Keeping
kind of
an
a
eye
big guy, keeping an eye out on a nearby rooftop. Just like a real stocky necromancer. And that may give you a little bit of comfort, or maybe a little bit of homesickness for Sinner, and thinking about the paranoia and things that have been happening.
Yeah.
With that roll, you're walking past, checking out these necromancers, keeping an eye out for Tinnitus or anyone from his group in case they're gonna try and jump you. And as you walk past under under an awning, kind of down the street, you hear something. And you look up, and that's not a stocky necromancer. That is a stocky figure. Robe is a similar color. That's why you didn't clock it at first. A big hood up. The figure watches you all. And as you go to point it out to the others, just steps back from the lip and seems to disappear as soon as your eyes are not on him.
Cool. Maze paranoia ramps back up.
Yep. Oh, that's nice. Wait a minute. No, it's not.
Okay, so it's just Death from Last Wish.
It's actually, yeah, I was literally about to say, sorry, I didn't hear the wish part. I was like,
When I watched The Last Wish with Mooney, I in the
Yeah.
theater leaned over to her and said, "I'm gonna base a villain on this guy in the next season," and she didn't remember that conversation at all, but I kept to it. That is exactly the inspiration for this character.
Yeah.
My secrets are revealed.
That sounds
Well,
familiar.
yes.
That was also like years ago.
Yeah.
We just need Mooney to send us a list of all the Patrick has watched recently.
I
We can
mean,
start predicting.
genuinely, I make jokes about this, but like, I'm like, yeah. So I guess season 3 is gonna be very like Temeraire inspired.
That's what he was reading when he was
Somehow.
thinking of it. Yes, this is potentially evil death from the Last Wish.
Is he
Uh,
sexy?
You don't know.
Well,
You haven't
of
seen his
course,
face.
it's sex. Yeah, haven't you seen the last one?
Yeah.
Haven't you
he's
seen the Last
fuckable.
Wish? Yeah. He says "Arigato," and you go, "Ooh, made me feel something."
I just want to know whose face is crossed out 8 times on his little sides.
On the ice. It is still Cats, and that's how
Okay.
you find out that he's been hunting Ricotta this whole time.
Oh, of course.
Oh my
yeah.
god, Swifty can be Kitty Soft Paws.
Yes, this entire plotline just goes off the rails. So it becomes a remake of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Well, Fish is, Kakano is Perito, so that's easy.
Obviously, yes.
Yeah. Tinnitus is Jack Horner. As you head through the city, watching your back, feeling paranoid, you make your way back into the cool confines of the temple / library.
Can I say one thing before we get into the library scene?
Absolutely, you can.
Cal would have approached Fish and been like, I have been putting something off, but yesterday made it obvious that I shouldn't be doing that anymore. I know that we talked about the looks over her shoulder both ways to make sure no one, especially Jamal, is in hearing distance, and goes, the sigil tattoo wouldn't last forever, and you said something about maybe disconnecting a bond between Tinnitus and I. Something you could sever just right here? Would it be easier now that he's going to be decently in proximity?
If we're lucky, I'll definitely try.
Take your pants off.
I should just touch the tattoo just for just to make sure, make sure I'm getting the right guy.
How's it going though? Is it faded at all? Like, what's going on?
At this point, I'm sure it's faded a little, right?
A tiny amount. It kind of like, tattoos fade from the original tattooing to
Yeah.
like their like base color, but then after that, it's a combination of time and sun exposure. So
Yeah.
being a tattoo that Cal never shows to the world, it's probably almost identical to like what it looked like after it healed.
It would be a little
Yeah.
softer. But
Yeah.
that's about
Cal
it.
rubs at her
Not quite
temple and goes, not
Yeah.
as much as I'd like it to be. It's still pretty visible through my stockings.
Well, like any artistic skill, you only get better with time. I just wanted to let you know. If you wanted me to redo like a second one right next to the original, but of course, ask Jamal about that first.
Cal's thinking through the logic of it. She's like, yeah, so you have a particular idea of a magic connection that would be. I asked him. Why would I ask Jamal?
Does he know about the tattoo?
No.
Then yeah. I think no, that's totally up to you to tell him or not. I would if that helps influence your decision.
What would I just don't understand why he would need to know that. It was for necessary safety precautions. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
any
Mm.
concerning yeah, no, it's not something that I need to talk about.
All right. Well, we'll book in for the other leg. After this adventure. But in the meantime, work on severing that connection with your old man.
Okay. Um, Thank you. And let me know what you were thinking for the sigil connection for the potential other one. What you did? Would it be working with May again? And is there something in particular you'd be focusing on?
I can always ask Dad. Always. Maybe. Would you want to talk to him?
Yes, I would love to. Is that would that be
You
impolite of
love
me? I don't know
to?
if I.
What? Okay. That's way too strong a reaction, frankly, Denia. But okay. Yeah,
I
sure. My
think
dad
how
can help
just
you
very
out.
like. She's like, "Well, I don't. Of course, I would want to speak to a god, but if you don't think that that's appropriate for me to do, then I won't."
Nah, that'd be nice. Let's do it after the library or something. I don't know.
Okay. Yes. All right. Yep. Oh, all right. Yep. Thanks.
I mean,
Tell
I've
me
met
about
your
the.
dad, so
Cal like
My dad's
sighs.
dead.
And she kind of gives him a little bit of a look about being like, I'm not gonna scold you for that. I understand what you're saying, but she just says, my father is long dead.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. Mm.
Y- yeah, no. At another time, you and can tell me what the idea for the follow-up sigil tattoo is, and I can see if it's worth the hassle. But we'll work on that disconnect. I don't know if that's something you can be working on in the background, but I'd appreciate it.
I'll do it. Of course I will. You're my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate your courtesy. Um,
I don't know the meaning of the word. Anyway, I'm hanging out with Beliala. I love spending time with her. She's my favorite necromancer ever. Certainly not you. Bye-bye.
Cal's like, no, good. You don't want to fuck her? Go for it. Go nuts.
She's top of my list. What list? Never mind.
Yeah, Fish is, back to the old thing of I can't be sincere for more than 2 seconds at a time.
Mhm.
Goodbye.
Yeah, in regards to the tattoo, I think Cal has been at worst clothes in a nightgown, and if any time like hand goes too high and Jamal goes, wait, what's that? She goes, no.
Yeah. No, I think absolutely Jamal has seen like the edges of it, or just it got flashed in a brief moment. But it's like, what was that? Absolutely nothing. Don't ask.
Super normal.
Yeah, super normal.
Yeah.
This
And
actually
now
reminded me
that
that I
Fish
forgot to save, so I will do that after.
now that Fish knows that that's a secret, that really sucks because they're already biting their tongue, like literally physically doing it, to not interact with him as little as possible. Like the corpse ink, it can only be that far.
All right. I actually did forget a scene that happened just a little bit before this, over the night, and Ink reminded me of it, and is possibly one of the reasons why Fish's dad is on Fish's mind. So I will rewind just a little bit to when everyone was asleep and Fish started to dream. It's a very light rain in the forest, the early morning. As you're hiking through, push through the bushes to look at the main road into town. You're seeing the back of what's clearly a welcome sign, but you're in this person's perspective, not in their memories. You don't know what the town's name is. What you do see is the construction, the accident. This main road in and out of town, the large chemical truck turned over, destroyed, and a number of workers stepping up, hazmat suits, cleaning and burning. And as you feel yourself narrow your eyes and look, you know they're not actually working. You see them pick up pieces of metal only to then scatter them again. Walking around with detectors and devices that beep, that never seem to do anything. And of course, the black of the veins, smoke that runs through them, more than anything tells you that this is fake, a ruse, keep people in town, keep people who don't belong here out. You feel an instinct, a drive just to run, to just run through the woods and the wild places and be gone and be free, but you can feel the fear in this body, a quick breath, the anxiety, feeling that you know you'd be caught, and even if you weren't, people you care about would die for your leaving. That's the deal, right? And as you accidentally make a bit too much noise backing into the brush, one of the workers' head snaps up and looks right at you. Deep black flowing under his veins with skin. Gives you a small smile and a nod before turning back to pretending to work. As Henry's body starts to hike back towards town. You hurt in a way that you can't quite explain or describe. A discomfort, a pain behind the eyes and in your stomach of something wrong. And you don't feel anxiety at this pain. Henry knows what it is. And as you cross back into town from the wooded verge, heading deeper in, feel the rumble of your stomach as cars start to drive past in this early morning. You know you have to do something, or it's going to get worse. So you walk up to someone you know. Not a restaurant, but he often sells tamales out of his truck. And you say, "Hey, you still owe me 2 of those from before." And you see magic flow out of your mouth into this man's ears, and the pain and discomfort disappears. Can't go too long without releasing it, or it comes back. As the man says, gets a foggy look in his eye for a moment, and then says, "Yeah, of course, Henry. Let me get those for you. Yeah, you wanted 1 pork, 1 chicken, like always. Here you go. Hey, you taking care of yourself, kid? You're not still sleeping on the street, are you?" No, I've got I got a nice place I'm just staying with some friends. You know, your uncle's still looking for you. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. It's just things are a little hard right now. Anyway, I gotta go. Yeah, you know, see you later, Henry. As you walk into the alley around the corner, eating your food, looking out at the people walking past, and something that isn't a surprise to Henry, but maybe Fish feels a little bit of surprise from, is noticing the difference. There's regular people, and there's monsters, creatures that you can tell by the reactions that look normal to everyone else, but you see their true faces and you hear the whispers. Reach into your pocket for the bottle of prescription medication. Empty. Still. Been empty for a long time. Put it back in your pocket. But also the people with the black in their veins. Some have so much, and these seem to notice you, to acknowledge you, sometimes to speak to you. And others just a little touch. A little blackness in the vein, something smaller, something different. These are people you know. People who say hi to you or toss you some coins without speaking. They hustle down the street. There is something in them. It's different in a way you don't know how. And then you turn around, find the person that had been walking up on you. You knew him once. This was Baker's wife, full of black now. And as she looks at you, something in your vision starts to distort, forming in your mind, although the body is not changing at all, something like a desiccated, rotting face of a man. As Fish, you recognize Jonas's original body, the one you sealed him in, as you hear Jonas's voice speaking to Henry. "Hello, Henry. I think it's time for another of our little experiments, wouldn't you say?" "Oh, come now. You know you can talk to me. Of course, if you don't, you know what's going to happen to your uncle and, well, everyone. Come, it'll be fun." And feel Henry nod and, shuffling his feet, follow Jonas down the alleyway. Door opens as the cafe owner who you saw in your last vision, who fed you, smoke running through his body, but the lighter amount, the small amount, as he greets you a little gruffer than you thought before, a little more dismissive, as Jonas leans into you and says, "Try it now. Tell him to hurt himself." And when you feel Henry hesitate and delay, you hear a car door open. Across the street, you see a man getting out of the car. Henry freezes. You can tell he recognizes him as he walks over and shakes the hand of what seems to you to be a slobbering abomination of teeth. "You know I make good on my threats, Henry. Go ahead and try." Mr. Johnson, hit yourself in the face as the magic puffs out of your mouth into his ears and gets fuzzy for a second, then goes and swings. The black stops him, the veins, just a moment, almost connects. And he looks at you, confused, as Jonas says, "Interesting. Another success, then. Thank you, Henry. You're free to go." And turns and walks away. As Henry runs across town, jumping over trash cans and through alleyways, finding himself a safe place, a closed-off place where he's stored some things between some trash cans, starts breathing in and out, trying to calm himself from the panic attack coming on. You feel yourself waking up. That's how you started your day.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, fast forward in time, you're in the lobby of the library. There are no high clerics here to greet you or anything like that, but also no sign of tinnitus in the others, so that's something. And a couple of people you don't recognize are speaking to the kind of necromancer at the front desk there, seem to be giving him some money, and some of them then pass through the doorway into the library itself, and some of them seem to walk off down another hallway, and they seem to be giving more money. You assume people paying for entrance and people paying for research. Yeah. What do you guys do? Do you explore? Do you check in? You don't know if you passed or not, but you were told, like, pretty definitely it's really unlikely you won't. Maybe he knows. Yeah? Okay. Go up and ask. You have all passed, even Jamal. Kekino declares that he passed too, even though the guy does not specifically mention Kekino. And you are all granted entrance to the library. As the doors open and you pass under the rosette of bones, you see the library for the first time. It's big and it's shockingly bright and dark. Pools of light bouncing off polished granite in the main areas, tables with good reading lights, but the shelves themselves, carved niches out of the stone, of books deep in shadow. Things, hallways, shelves spiraling off and around in tunnels and galleries. It's like a rabbit's warren writ large, full of books. And in the center of the sort of main atrium, like spokes of a wheel, it looks like it should be 4 pathways branching off, including the one you just walked down, but there's only 3. One of the walls just ends in a design of bones. You see a large research desk with librarians, and you are here in the library. You have access. Jamal immediately goes up and starts chatting with the librarians to figure out what the organizational system is like, and there is what you all recognize as like a huge card catalog for the library. What research would anyone like to do?
Guess we're just gonna look to Cal, right? Like, okay, where do we begin?
Yeah, Cal is going to. I feel like Jamal's like, oh, here's the research system. Also, you see her? You see the pretty girl? That's my girlfriend. Just wanted you to
She's
know.
an abbot.
Don't tell her. She doesn't know.
But yeah, Cal would absolutely take May about being like, yes, Jamal, I don't really have to give instructions. You, I don't trust, but I know you do need accurate instruction. And it's basically just like, look for anything about the realm of death, especially any fucking weirdos who decided to go on expeditions and then come back and write about it.
Travel writing, my favorite.
Yeah. But yeah, I think maybe that actually is a good point about you specifically. Journals, personal accounts, articles, stuff like that. You kind of understand that and also would probably be able to tell, especially like the bullshit of somebody making something up.
Yeah.
Because May understands not only what travel writing would be in a academic sense, but also so many people would just be making shit up. Yeah.
As you walk up to the desk and look at the card catalog and try to figure things out, Jamal is chatting with the librarian. Seems to be getting a little frustrated and mentioned something to Beliala, who just kind of shrugs. So instead, he turns to Cal and goes, Caligulus, they really they sort of designed this place before modern library sciences, so the shelving system does not make any sense. It's very convoluted. It's probably going to take me a couple days to get used to it, at least. So we may have to rely on the librarians here and their system to find things that we need. What should we be looking for starting first?
Cal will be like, that's all right. I appreciate your expertise, but I didn't expect you to master the entire library in an hour. You say it's...
They don't use the Dewey Decimal System. They don't use congressional filing. They don't even really organize by subject. They organize by subject within the year that it was entered into the archive, the decade. It is insane.
Well, Phasme, Abbotinitus organized our personal library by most important religious texts to books he did not particularly like.
Oh, that's terrible. Oh my god. Oh, I mean, saints.
She laughs at that and she goes, You can use whatever exclamation you like. I'm not offended.
Oh, thanks, Moncherie. It's just, I knew he was awful, but that's really something. That is honestly a crime against
community
books.
quote.
Administrative evil.
Yeah.
I can excuse child abuse, but bad library science is where I draw the line.
You can,
Then
you
May
can
goes,
excuse bad
"You
child
excuse
abuse."
child abuse." um. Salam. Hello. Um. I can help you find things if you wish. Step right up. What can I help you find? I can teach you how to use the system.
We're looking for anything about the realm of death.
Oh, well, that is a great deal of our library is the realm of death, but I'm sure we can find specifics.
I'll be more
And
specific. I was
her
like, okay, yeah, you're bragging of shit, but she's
her
like, I'm
you as she says this, she gives kind of like a small smile, and she looks down at her work surface, and it's like a flat desk, but there's a dome of a skull right in the middle, like inset into the desk, just deep enough that
What?
like the eye sockets are looking out, and they're facing towards you, and you can see there's like little blue flames dancing in the eye sockets, and she knocks
Sans
on the
Undertale?
skull and goes. Sanchez.
Fuck off.
um, as the little fire kind of like swivels up to like look at her, but the head can't turn. She goes, in this library, because it is something of a construct, you can ask the construct itself to find books for you. If you will just rest your hand on the skull here and think very hard about the information you are trying to find, the library will direct you to where to find those books, as well as give you information on the books itself. I mean, technically, it's part of the library itself, but we call this specific system Sanchez because we work closely with him. I mean, it's a little funny, and yeah. Okay.
I feel like Jamal's like, what the fuck? And Cal's like, yeah, Big Bone Man directs you to books.
Yeah.
Like, you haven't been to a bone library before,
You haven't
Jamal.
been
Come
to a
on.
bone library before. I haven't been to a bone library before, actually. Jamal is fascinated by this turn of events, and is kind of like, well, I guess try it. And you're like, oh, cool. I get to describe what I want mentally to a skeleton instead of having to say it out loud to a person. Honestly, prefer that. So, rest your hand on the skull and tell me what you want to be looking for.
Cal wants travel logs for May. Yeah, travel logs for May. Specifically,
It is probably best if you do like one and then send May off and then do the next thing and like assign that to Fish, rather than being like everything I'm looking for, just because that would be so much that comes up.
She already discussed this with May because I think May was so like, so what's my assignment? So she'll do May's first.
Okay. So you're looking for travel logs for people who traveled into death. You sort of explain this mentally to the library and feel it acknowledge you in a way. The eye fires go out, and the card catalog that May has walked over to and has like started pulling out drawers and going through cards and looking starts rattling, and drawers start sliding open and cards like pop out so that they're visible, as it just like is essentially it's a library collection search, but magic analog, as it's giving you the search results for travel logs through the realm of death. After probably the initial startlement, May grabs a card that has been pushed up. On the front is the title and author, a short description of the book, and then like library comments about the book's authenticity, when it came into the collection, what scholars believe about this book, and what section it is in, and stuff like that. Do you want to go through and pull your cards and see what you get? Okay, then give me an investigation check with advantage.
With advantage, you say? Ooh.
You are in a library who is helping do the searching for you.
It's a little bit better. Yes, it is. Okay, that's a dirty 20. I'm going to up it to
To a what?
a 24.
Okay. And with a 24, as you're going through the card catalogs, picking out things and looking at things, taking a little notebook they have there and writing down where to find some of these books, you find yourself kind of like thinking out loud of like you're flipping a card over and you're like, well, this one's clearly marked as fiction. I don't really want any that are proven fiction. And as you say that, a bunch of the cards sink down, and then a couple more come up of being like you are refining your search terms in a way. With the 24, as you go through, you find a couple of travelogues that their location is listed as in the restricted archive, and for some of them it doesn't give a description of the book itself. Others it does have the basic description, but it also always says why it's in the archive. As you're going through, it seems to be things that are particularly dangerous to the average necromancy. Like there's nothing that's marked like heresy, but it's like, hey, if you follow these instructions, you're going to immediately kill yourself. So we put this through another level of security. But you find, I'll say, about 20 like good, high-quality travelogues for yourself to start that are not in the restricted section, that are various explorations of death. A couple of them are secondhand. Somebody who came back and described something and somebody else wrote it, potentially at a different time. And some of them are like, we cannot prove authenticity kind of stuff. You eliminated anything that was like proven to be fiction, but things that are a little more nebulous are still in the search there. So
with the restricted section, is there any indication of how we get access?
No. There is no indication of where it is. There is no indication of how to get there or how to get access. You probably have to ask somebody.
Yeah.
But as soon as you kind of collect your copies of the cards, Cal, being aware of kind of the necromantic functions, is probably the one to notice that a skull by May lights up with a single like blue flame. And you feel in your death sense like a hamster running through a maze, a like charge going through the bones, where if you have death sense, you can follow it and the library will take you to the book. And I think if you describe this to May, the construct of the library will every once in a while, like a hand will form and be like, rather than trying to do it entirely through necromantic function. As May runs off in her cool new library to do research, she immediately disappears into the stacks, takes a tunnel that goes into another tunnel, and is out of sight like almost instantly. What is another search that you want to do?
She'll do a search for Gods of Death for Fish and Kekino.
All right. Gods of Death has a little bit of like a delay where like the drawers open and some cards come out, and then they go down and it slams closed, and then it opens again and most of the same, but like a couple different cards come out. It seems like maybe this is a very, rudimentary intelligence, and therefore does not necessarily know what gods are in that sense, or not exactly what you meant by gods. Fish, give me a investigation check with advantage.
Yeah. Okay. Not good. Thankfully, advantage is in play. Not worse, but not better. Um, investigation. That's 12.
Okay. You get a lot of books, which is the problem. You're going to really have to sort through a lot. There is seemingly an incredibly sizable collection of mortal myths regarding death, reincarnation, life after death, and the gods associated with it. It is a huge part of this library, and you're really going to have to work hard to cull through information to find things of value, but is also an excellent learning opportunity if you're willing to do the reading, because this place can give you a lot of answers. And what is Cal looking for herself, or Jamal, or Beliala, or what else?
Real quick,
Cal's
I
like-
want to make the note that Fish is the 12. Fish is like not exactly mentally present for this.
Yeah.
Cal's idea is like, look, if I put Fish in a corner and I give them something that is at least relevant enough to them that they don't immediately have their ADHD kick in and they get distracted and they start doing random bored shit, and they come back and they go, I did spend 50 minutes doodling in a corner, but I found one book. And Cal being like, you 6 hours and you found one book? Good job, Fish.
Thank you.
That's her idea. Look, if Fish comes with a little bit of usefulness, and even if it's mostly motivated by themselves of wanting to know more about gods they could be interacting with and fucking with and the fucking godly council, she's like, a win is a win.
No, look, after 6 hours, they come back with a book on remnants. And it's like, why do you have this? I was like, Screw in my head.
Is she like, is it even accurate? It's like, no.
No.
I know more than this guy.
Yeah.
She'll let Jamal just work on learning the system. It makes more sense for. Also, it would bug Jamal to not be an expert, so let him learn it, and then she can unleash it. And then for herself, I had an
I think
idea.
Beliala goes forward and looks for a book and then goes off, and she's like picking up her rucksack and being like, okay, she's got her own projects. Maybe she's just gonna steal the book that she brought and replace it with one of the ones she brought with her.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And then I had an idea for what I wanted Cal to do. What did I want Cal? Gods of Death, realm, and all of that.
There's a number of things you can look for. Remember that it doesn't just have to be things necessarily regarding Elise, although that is obviously your priority. You can look for anything, and it's possibility that if it overlaps in debt with death even a little bit, it's in this library. Like, the worst they can say is no. So if you're like, hey, what's going on with Weird Wolfman, or there's this weird thing in China that kidnapped May, maybe that comes up, maybe it doesn't. Don't know. This is a very good source of information for you.
God, that's hard. Just a lot of pressure. I guess I can just start on one. I'll just go with whatever came to my head. Cal basically looks up, tries to focus on necromancy in regards to interdimensional travel. That would be my thing.
Okay, necromancy and interdimensional travel. That gives you a pretty pared down list of results of seemingly like fairly high quality hex, because it's a complicated subject. Give me investigation with advantage.
Let's get my dice. Okay. Glad that's with advantage. That's a 17.
Okay. With a 17, you find a number of very like technical books about the theory behind cross-dimensional travel regarding the realm of death. The book that most catches your attention that you think will be the most interesting is sort of a modern treatise on a historical figure that was both a dimensional shunter and a necromancer, and therefore had like experience with both. It's
Wait, like a ambidextrous?
yeah, like he
Damn, this
is.
motherfucker!
He is it seemingly by at least the description on the back of the card, a sorcerer who is like semi mythologized, who was in the necromantic faith but had a like natural predisposition for dimensional shunting, and so did not seemingly, you'll get details when you read the book, but did not seemingly like learn a lot of dimensional shunting, but tried to like put that kind of magic into necromancy and kind of like cross the streams in that way, and found out how to kind of shunt into death in a way. And there is a reference on the card that this may be tied to the like formation of the necropolises or something like that. So that's something for you to dig into. And since you are the last one in the room looking and getting your stuff in this on the research desk, asking Sanchez for help, you are the one who witnesses the click and shift of bones. This is the hub of a wheel. Should be 4 hallways going off, but there's only 3. And in the blank wall, in the bone design, you see them start to shift and move as a tunnel starts to open up, completely surrounded by sharpened, splintered, fragmented bone, as 2 high clerics with their little badges walk out of this tunnel, and it closes up behind them. And I think you know where the Forbidden Archive is. No idea how you get there, or what permissions you need to research there, or what have you. You will have to ask someone, but at least you know where it is physically. As you all go off on your little research adventures, I am going to roll a d4. Okay. 2 days of research you go through to sort through all of these different sources. Cal discovers a lot about how the necropoli first kind of came about. This necromancer seemingly starting this kind of idea of like, we need to explore and map death, and sort of like his legacy is what led to their establishing like doing actual research at these temples at doorways to death instead of just hanging out and worshiping. There is a few references to maps that were made at the time by this person, and techniques on how to get to there. As you do more research into that, you find out that the secrets of those information are in the Forbidden Archive for being too dangerous, being just like, you could teleport yourself to the middle of death and then, instantly die, and that's no bueno. But as you kind of research around that area, you find exactly where all of the modern necropoli are, as well as where some were historically. You get the sense of the mechanics of how shunting into the realm of death and kind of entering and leaving death not at proper entrances works magically, and it seems to be whatever this hound being thing is doing. It's something that it's theoretically possible for a lot of necromantic constructs, being able to like slip into death and travel that way. Usually really complicated higher order stuff, but getting it from a human's perspective, you kind of understand the mechanics behind it a little bit. The reason the whistling hound is able to be all over the world at once is it can essentially instantly teleport by dipping into death, and that's the same way it got past your locks. So that's good to know. And you also get a much deeper understanding of how you would get into death and how you would navigate. You get the information about the major entryways, both those covered by the Necropoli and those not, as well as some non-censored, non-forbidden maps that shows some early mapping progress of the areas around those kind of entrances and exits. Doesn't tell you where Elise is, but at least if you go in, you would have a way to start. You are essentially like, I just need a better version of this information, and I would be able to navigate to Elise once I was there, once I was in death. Getting there is a little bit more complicated. This person seemed to have like a unique set of skills. You could make some calls with some shunters, maybe call the sanctuary and ask for Elder Volate.
Bitch, you owe me.
Yeah, bitch, you owe me, and get her take on it. But at first blush, reading this material, everything kind of surrounding it, it seems like it's a very specific set of skills that, like, if you don't specifically train for, you're not really going to be able to do. But also, there are some references to something that is called conceptually an isthmus anchor, where something that can be used by a shunter or teleporter to open certain dimensions. What you're reading about is in regards to shunters, which is like parallel dimensions to Earth, being able to find a place you've been to again, or theoretically go to the realm of death or things like that. And you think that Elise figured out something along those lines, or at least just brute forces something along those lines with her power, because she is able to open doorways to the realm of life when somebody is giving birth or there is otherwise kind of an explosion of life magic. And so you're like, well, if I can figure out kind of how to do that with the realm of death, maybe with some experts, maybe that's a way in. Maybe we can get around, we can end run the Necropoli. But you are also getting the sense that you are kind of working to rebuild information that is available. It's just forbidden. You don't have to puzzle all this out. You can just actually find the information. It's just not available to you right now unless you try to ask for how to do it. For Fish, do you genuinely focus on the mortal myths and legends, or do you actually look up remnant stuff?
So they have more dreams?
You do not have any more dreams in these 2 days, but I imagine it does still bother you.
It certainly does, but if they have not had any more dreams, visions, anything of the sort, then after 1 day of fucking around, then they lock in.
Okay. As you lock in, you find a lot of records for not just mortal myths of gods of death, but also dead gods, and how gods of death that no longer exist because they're no longer worshipped, they're no longer active participants in kind of the world, how they exist, how they existed, and cults and religions that no longer exist and have kind of been lost to mortal history. You get a lot of stories, and one thing you begin to understand about your power and your dad and kind of gods and goddesses in general is that gods and goddesses are manifestations of certain things in the human imagination, but are not actually in control of those things. Your father is the god of connections between people, and that makes him a lot closer to a primordial force than most of these gods you're reading about. But that doesn't mean he is all connection. He borrows that power, and he doesn't have to compete with it, because it seems like he's kind of really the only god of this caliber, of this kind. There's some minor gods about, like, the family and the hearth and things like that borrow a little bit of the same power he does, but mostly it's all his, and that's one of the reasons why he's so powerful.
Move over Hestia.
Yeah, exactly. Move over Hestia. When you're looking up gods of death, this seems to be like used as like the classic example of the limits of a god's power. Is like a death god does not actually control death, it just borrows some influence over death. And as you're doing your reading, you think that it would be very difficult but not impossible for a god to open a way into death for you to go into. What is probably more possible, because there's a lot of legends around this, even Orpheus and Eurydice, and a lot of classic legends about being a god of death protecting someone while they are within the realm of death, at least for a time, temporarily giving protection that keeps them from getting wiped away. Maybe that's something you want to look more into. And regarding a god dying, most of the references you're finding are to gods like fading away from lack of followers and just like kind of disappearing one day. You're not finding anything about being like, yeah, the god is trapped and then blows up and fragmented into a million pieces and one of them ends up in a boy. Like, that
Damn.
does not seem normal.
That would have been helpful, though.
Yeah. That does not seem normal at all. That seems like whatever happened there is a very exceptional thing, and that means the other gods, the other death gods that are missing and have been killed, are also exceptional, which means that's not a natural process. Someone's doing it.
Yep.
And then for May, you find a lot of travelogues. A lot of them are people who have had near-death experiences in various forms, and you are able to compile this kind of like record of the similarities between everybody's experience in death, and you get a sense of strange creatures and phenomenon and things like that. You're essentially like building a skill set of like survivalism in the realm of death. Like, you're starting to know kind of what to expect and what to prepare for while you're there. It doesn't give you a lot of details about actually like getting in there and navigating and getting around, but there have been some travelogue, some records of people who have gone in through a necropolis and been essentially like guided by necromancers into death to do something. Usually a very short trip, and there's a lot of like postscripts about like a journal that suddenly ends, and then somebody else's handwriting is like, he came back from his trip and was just incredibly sick for like 17 hours and then died. So definitely incredibly dangerous place, even with guides and things like that. But you do have some writings of like the process of kind of getting in through the necropoli. But there's a lot of pieces missing. And for those, you're reading not like a handwritten journal, you're reading like a text block, like a bound book version of it. And when you look up that journal, you realize this is the edited copy, and there are unedited copies in the Forbidden Archive that maybe have a little more explicit secret information that is much more dangerous. All of you together, as you kind of come together and compare notes, come to the conclusion that if you don't want to do the brute force work yourself, you may have to get access to the Forbidden Archive in some way. The information you have at your fingers here is incredible. There is incredibly dangerous information that you can glean. It's absolutely not like, oh, this is the nanny state protecting us from good books. It is just what you're interested in seems to be really horrifyingly dangerous stuff that gets locked away.
Yeah. How's Jamal doing?
Jamal is doing pretty good. He has been talking to the staff members, and he has been assisting you as well as the others of finding specific books. He was the one who helped May find out that it was the edited copies and where the other editions were. He's disappeared for a little bit to help Beliala with whatever the fuck she is doing. And you all have unfortunately run into someone from Tinnitus's gang a couple of times of just like you go into a workroom to look at a book, and then his brother in Harkin is sitting there at the table reading something and just gives like a little wave before you're like, okay, excuses to get out of this room. And Jamal has, after talking to you, asked one of the High Clerics about the Forbidden Archive. And so as you reconvene to share your notes at the end of the second day, he says, Caligulus, you can't do it. There is a way to get access to the archive. Another test. It's the test they take to be High Clerics, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Marjorie.
Cal resisting the bitch being like, bitch, you don't tell me what to fucking do.
Yeah, he looks scared. He looks scared and anxious, and like he's afraid to tell you because he's afraid that you'll be like, oh, I'm doing it.
Yeah, I think Cal immediately, this is like, Cal's like reading a book and it's like, oh, Jamal has an update for me. And Jamal's like, you can't do it, honey. Just like, actually I can.
I'm capable of anything. Feminism is pretty early days, but
it has that moment of just like immediately like, I mean, honestly, probably face flashes the anger and then recognizes Jamal is scared and is like, I understand. You have to tell me what it is. You know you have to keep me informed. And I hope I don't make a decision that's going to upset you, Jamal, but I need to at least know what that is.
I talked to I talked to Brother Rain, and I didn't understand all the details, but he said that the only people who could become High Clerics or get access to the forbidden stacks, it could only be someone who was trustworthy enough to hold the secrets inside, to have so much necromantic power and not use it. He said it would take being a saint or being the kind of person who could be a saint. And he said even if you succeeded, no one who ever succeeds ever wants to leave. They stay here. They stay here for forever. He said he came to answer a research question once upon a time, and he took the test, and he wasn't planning on being a high cleric here, but afterwards he just couldn't find it in himself to move on. So even if you succeed, it would mean an end to everything, to Rousseau and the temple and everything if you stay here.
Where are they having this conversation?
I think this is like a little like desk and some chairs kind of in this main hub off to the side, like in a public enough space that people can see you, but not like a public space where people can overhear you.
Cal is watching all this, and her brow is furrowing, and she's listening to all of this, and her brow is furrowing, and then she like looks at Jamal and tilts her head and looks at him very sympathetically, like he hasn't figured out something really obvious, and she says in a low voice, "So we break in."
Okay, we break in. That's good, because I asked what the test was, and he said, he said it's quite simple, Mr. Tractate. The one who takes the test has to die.
Soul's probably bound to the temple after that or something. They don't want to leave, because if they leave, they'll probably dissipate. Can't probably leave the town limits. No, it makes sense. Morbidly, but it makes sense. No, well, I am sure, honestly, I can't imagine May and Fish hearing better news and being told that I want them to plan a heist.
Okay. I asked, just, because that's shocking. I mean, that's crazy. I asked, well, like, how many people succeed? They said that they get a lot of travelers. So, in the last 10 years, about 100 or so people have taken the test. Rain is the only one to succeed. So, I think a heist is safer.
And Cal puts a hand on his hand and goes, "And if I die in the middle of the heist, we try to just see if we can get that to count as passing the test."
I don't think it would. I really worry that it wouldn't. But yeah, okay. Let's go plan a heist.
You've read 6 of Crows. It'll go well.
I read 6 of Crows and said, well, I can never be these people, so good thing I am in a normal life where I sit in a library.
No, Cal is like, it's so funny because I'm like, yeah, I do understand this was going to be like, you have to die, just right? But I was like, Cal would be like, I'm enough of a rule breaker to go fuck that. Yeah. I listen to your rules, Magic Man. That sounds fucking stupid.
Yeah. And it is there with the determination to commit a heist. All of you doing the community bit, elaborate heist, that we will end today's session.
Yeah, on the other side of the library, Fish is sitting across from May. They have not been speaking to each other. They've both been absorbed in their own projects. But they look up and go, oh, we're about to have some fun.
Kekano looks up from his own
shenanigans
and goes,
We're gonna play a game? That's fun.
His own project is like he's like making a collage. How does May feel about that?
Actually, legit, this
For
happens.
mischief.
Yeah.
Fish's 6 cents for mischief.
May's like, oh, is that a fact? What sort of fun? Not looking up, still like reading.
Crime.
May's like, crime, you say? Mischief,
perfect
you
endpoint.
say?
And with that, I think we will end this session of Well Dressed Bones. Thank you, everyone, for playing. Let's stop the recording, and then we can debrief.